iHeart, get ready. Fantasy football is here. Welcome to the Scout Fantasy Show. ScoutFantasy.com is home to the Fantasy Football World Championships and the best players in the world. Real money winners giving their secrets to help you win. Now exclusively on iHeart. This is the Scout Fantasy Show with your host, the one, the only, Dr. Roto.
Dr. Roto. Get out the insurance cards. Get out the copay. The office is open, my friends. Let's take a look at those box scores. Let's go deeper. Let's look at the analysis and see who's getting some playing time. Because what do I do on Tuesdays? I start preparing for Wednesdays, right? A little investigation here. What's happening? Baltimore and the Giants. Let's start with this game here. What's happening is that Kenneth Dixon is not getting enough targets, not getting enough touches, not getting anything, right? It's a problem. Right now, I have to determine whether or not I want to cut Kenneth Dixon. My answer to you is going to be no. You can't cut him, and here's why. The second you cut Kenneth Dixon, I can guarantee you one of two things will happen. One, he'll be picked up by somebody else. And two, that next week, Terrence West gets hurt, and you don't have Dixon, and then he costs $1 gazillion next week in Fab, and you lose him. So you're kind of stuck with him. You're stuck with him. You have to be in on him. So I know it's a tough pill to swallow, but you got to wait it out. You've got to wait and hope that West either loses the job or gets injured. Because right now, that's the only way he's not playing. Receiving, Kamar Aiken. Interesting again. He was going early in Vegas. People liked him. But with Wallace and Smith and Perriman and a healthy Pitta, there was no room for Aiken. But if any of these guys are hurt, whether it's Wallace or Smith or Perriman, Kamar Aiken becomes interesting. I think he's got to make some short lists. For the Giants, the guy that I like, I think is Larry Donnell. I think he's very interesting. Will Tye has proven that he's really not that good, but Larry Donnell isn't bad. He's a big target, and Eli Manning has thrown to him previously. So if you are desperate for a tight end, if you've got Greg Olsen on by and you got to go somewhere, I think you could do worse than Larry Donnell. All right, let's not forget the Thursday game, the Chargers and the Broncos, which sometimes we do because it was so long ago. I'm going to give you the guy that I've been giving you all along. If you own Sanders or if you own Demaryius Thomas, you need to own Jordan Norwood. There's an injury to one of those guys, Norwood is the guy. Now, I don't want Norwood outside of that, but if I kind of want him, I do want him if I need him. And how about John Phillips as another guy? John Phillips Sousa. Three targets, 3 receptions. Virgil Green working his way back. John Phillips, a very big target by the red zone. I'm just throwing that out there if you're in a touchdown-only league. For San Diego, I'm getting rid of Dontrell Inman. I'm done with this guy. He's not very good. I think you're going to see the 2 tight end offense. Gates is not 100%. Henry is not leaving that field. Not leaving that field. All right. Buffalo and San Francisco. Quentin Patton, if you might have cut him, could be interesting again. Remember, I told you that Colin Kaepernick is more willing than Blaine Gabbert to throw the ball down the field. If you need a wide receiver and he was cut, I guess we can look there. I'm not loving it. I really do like Mike Gillislee. Mike Gillislee is one LaShawn McCoy injury away from being really good. One away from being really good. I'm just saying. In terms of Buffalo's receiving, Robert Woods, we know what he can do. We know what Clay can do. Now the question is it Justin Hunter or Marquise Goodwin? Who's going to step up? I think Goodwin is faster and knows the offense a little better, but Hunter has some skills. I guess if I was absolutely desperate in a deeper league, I could take a flyer on him. Philadelphia is a mess right now. It's a mess. And I'm probably dropping these guys more than I'm adding them. Aguilar, Green Beckham, Ertz, Burton, blah, 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 blah. You know, Sproles, Barner, Small. They're just not doing anything. And if Aguilar were to get injured, it's not like I think Dorial Green Beckham is going to go up to like 12 targets a game. I don't think he is. This was a game that they were behind and they didn't throw the ball that effectively. So I think if anything, I'm divesting myself from the Eagles. I'm not investing. For the Redskins, R. Kelly's interesting. I believe I can be the backup to Matt Jones. So I'm not saying I'd spend a lot of money on him, but I throw him out there. Vernon Davis, too, in case Jordan Reed can't come back. I might throw a buck or two on Vernon Davis just to have him. You know he's got ability. Kirk Cousins will throw to the tight end, so I have no problem with that. Cleveland, it looks like Ricardo Lewis is the legitimate second receiver now until Corey Coleman returns. Terrell Pryor's not 100%, but I have to think he plays this week. I do. But I think Ricardo Lewis is worth looking at. I don't like him, but he's worth $1 or $2. I mean, please don't go investing very heavily in him. But, today is our super sleeper kind of guys. Rashard Matthews might be out there in your league. Kendall Wright may be out there in your league. What I don't want you to do is go crazy on Kendall Wright. I don't know. I don't trust Mariota. I don't think that's a really good way for you to spend money. I'll bid on Kendall Wright, but some guy in a league of mine a few weeks ago bid like $700 on Robert Woods. That was lunacy. I'm not doing that here with Kendall Wright. I don't think that highly of him. I mean, he's okay, but I think Tennessee Titans want to run the football. Carolina and New Orleans, interesting there that Daniel Lasco came in. Jason Braddock mentioned this guy as he played in the Woodlands, Texas in high school. And then all of a sudden he got 2 carries. Where was Tim Hightower? So, here's the problem at this time of the year. Sometimes the guys that we thought were backups aren't the backups anymore. So now you got to go get the backups. But I ask myself this question all the time. It's kind of like what happened with Cameron Artis-Payne. Jonathan Stewart is there. Fozzie Whitaker's the third down guy, and Mike Tolbert's the battering ram. There's no need to have Cameron Artis-Payne. So he's a healthy scratch. Same thing in New Orleans. If you have Mark Ingram and you have Travaris Cadet and you got Lasco to block a little bit, do you need Tim Hightower? No, but if Mark Ingram were to get hurt, or if Jonathan Stewart were to get hurt, you would think that Hightower and Cameron Artis-Payne are the logical guys to back him up. So be careful when you dump guys like that. They may have more value than you think. All right, Carolina on bye this week. Even their defense, I don't know if I'm interested in anymore. I don't know what I'm interested in this team. This team's a mess. They really are a mess at this point. 1-5, and it doesn't look like it's getting better anytime soon. For New Orleans, you want to invest in Josh Hill? I don't think I would. Tommy Lee Lewis? Great balls of fire. I don't know. I don't know if I'd do that either. I think I would just keep it where I am with these guys. Jacksonville and Chicago, I will invest in Marquise Lee. I've said it the last couple of weeks. He looks in really good condition now. He looks very primed and playing at a higher level. So God forbid Hearns or Robinson should get hurt. I think Lee is the logical guy there. For Chicago, I think Kadeem Carey showed you that he is the viable backup there. 9 carries for 50 yards. I have no problem for him if you have Jordan Howard. After that, I don't really see anybody there who's exciting me. For Detroit, I had a fantasy funeral for Justin Forsett. This guy's garbage. And now you've got to think that Riddick and Washington are going to return. And Zach Zenner's running well. So what do they need Justin Forsett for? He's a body. He's a jag. Just a guy. Right? So please, if you spent money on him last week, I'm sorry that you did. Don't spend another quarter on him. If Anquan Bolden is out there, he's interesting. So, certainly without Ebron, he's a guy who played. Now, Kenny Britt is on pace to have an amazing year. I think you got to start investing in Kenny Britt if you haven't. I know I cut him last week. I am ashamed of myself. I truly am. But I think Britt and Quick and Kendricks and Austin, that's what they've got going on there. It's not great, but it's usable. I am very worried about Landry Jones in the respect of I don't see Eli Rogers. I don't see Jesse James. I don't see DHB. I don't see any of these guys doing well with Landry Jones. I see Bell. I see Brown. That's about it. So if I've got Coates, if I've got Rogers, I'm not going to cut Coates, but I'm going to try to trade him. Rogers and Hayward Bay, I'm probably going to cut because I don't think they have much value. Yes, I am going to tell you the following. I am. I'm going to cut Arian Foster. I'm going to cut him. I know he wasn't 100%, And I couldn't believe what I read. I could not believe what I read, where it said Adam Gase activated him for his leadership. Are you kidding me? Seriously? You activated him for his leadership? I mean, what does he have, naked pictures of you, Adam Gase? I want leadership, but I want guys who are viable players. What if Damian Williams got injured? Could you have played Foster this week? That's retarded. That's terrible. That's awful. I can't even believe you'd say something like that. Jay Ajayi is really good. Really good. I am in on this guy. I am 100% in on this guy, and I'm going to tell you why. Okay? This year, first game, 5 carries, 14 yards. Second game, 7 carries, 28 yards, and a touchdown. It's 4 yards a carry. Third game, 6 for 33, 5.5 yards per carry. Then against Tennessee, a really good run defense, 13 for 42 and a touchdown. This is a guy who gets yards per carry. And this is a guy who's starting to ramp it up. This is a guy starting to ramp it up. I'm in on him. He's got Buffalo, then he's got a bye week. Okay, then he's got the Jets. That's going to be hard. But San Diego, LA, San Francisco, Baltimore. I mean, my only problem right now with Jay Ajayi is that in weeks 14, 15, and 16, he's got a brutal schedule. Arizona, the Jets, and Buffalo. That's not who you want to be going against if you're a running back. That's not good. Okay? But to get me to the Super Bowl, I'll take my chances. I'll take my chances with him. I have no problem with that guy. None at all. All right, New England and Cincinnati. I don't think James White is out there, but if he is, get him. I don't know about Dion Lewis. I like Dion Lewis, but I have no guarantee that he's going to be playing again. And I think that James White and Blunt are a really good duo right now. For Cincinnati, it was good to see Tyler Boyd emerge. 4 for 79, 5 targets. He is a legitimate number 2 receiver there. Right now, I think it's still Brandon LaFell. But if Cincinnati continues on this downward spiral, Tyler Boyd is going to be worth more. I have no problem picking him up. I think he's interesting. Kansas City and Oakland, I think there's going to be a lot of frustration this week. And so let me just explain why you can't jump off the deep end with the Chiefs. Can't do it, okay? First of all, game flow. At the end of the third quarter, it was 23-10. There's no way Alex Smith is throwing the ball in the fourth quarter when he's up by 13 points. There's no way. He doesn't want to throw it anyway, but he's certainly not throwing it in the fourth quarter when he's got Spencer Ware and Jamal Charles to run the football. The Chiefs' value is when they may be behind, and then Smith is worth more because he'll throw the football a little bit. And he's got targets, Macklin and Kelsey and Conley and Hill and guys who are interesting. But you can't look at last week's box score and get annoyed because they were just beating the crap out of the Raiders, and the weather was so bad there that it was risky to even. I don't even think I'd want to give Travis Kelsey a catch. I don't want him to get hurt. Right? That's one of those games you just want to try to get out of. Right? You just want to try to get out of those games. You don't want injuries. I'll never forget, I was coaching a girls' volleyball game years ago, and the game was like outside on a hard court. Outside on like a basketball court. Asphalt. I mean, I'm telling you, this is ridiculous. I can't believe this high school team had it there. And I said to my girls, do not dive at all. If you dive, I'm pulling you out. Sure enough, one of my players dives. She's out. Why? Because I don't need anybody getting hurt in a game like that. I let the ball drop. We'll win it. I'll trust and that will be good enough. I never want people getting injured when they don't need to. That was a mess of a game last week in Oakland. It was a mess. But what I thought, and look at what Oakland did. Jalen Richard didn't really get that much action because it was a very swampy track. He's better on a fast track. All right? So let's not go investing in DeAndre Washington either. He's good, not great. Seattle over Atlanta. I like Kristen Michael, and it was good to see that Alex Collins got a touchdown there. I don't expect him to get many more of those. But when I look at Seattle, I look at Kirsch, I look at Lockett. Luke Wilson is now out for the year. So I think that we've got to look there. Spiller, Procise, there's a lot going on with Seattle, but I wouldn't invest in it. I wouldn't invest in any of it. For Atlanta, the only guy that I'm willing to invest in is Jacob Tamme if he's out there, and Justin Hardy. I do think, and I've said it all along, that Justin Hardy could emerge if there was an injury to Julio Jones-Roto or Mohamed Sanu. Okay? Dallas and Green Bay, I've got to think Ty Montgomery is the number one guy. But I'll tell you right now, I don't know if I won anything here with Aaron Rodgers. It says here that, there's something that bothering Rodgers is not football related. You think? Maybe it's Olivia Munn. Maybe it's his brother. Maybe it's his press. I don't know. This guy is terrible right now. I got to tell you this. I'm probably benching Rodgers this week against Chicago. I can't play this guy until he's good. Now, he will have an Aaron Rodgers game at some point, but I can't wait for it. It's too risky at this point. I don't trust any of these guys. Maybe Montgomery. That's about it for me. And they did trade for Niall Davis, which tells you that James Starks is out for a while. Okay, for Dallas, I mean, the players are the players. You know that Des Bryant is coming back week 8. He said it as much. That's the plan for him. So don't get physically invested in Bryce Butler. That's going to be very, very short-lived. I might invest a little in Jalen Strong. Strong looked like a pretty good player. That was a very good reception at a critical time that game. I like what I saw. And for Dorowitz, I guess if he's still out there, he's interesting. He's getting better. He was always a good blocker. But now he's turning into a receiver, which I never expected to see. So good for him. Jack Doyle is this guy who I don't mind seeing less of Dwayne Allen, more of Jack Doyle. But I had Jack Doyle and picked him up a couple of weeks before, and he just didn't do anything. So I don't know how I feel. I think Josh Ferguson is in trouble right now. Robert Turbin came back, had 3 carries, had 4 receptions. Where is Josh Ferguson? Nowhere to be found. Turbin is the legitimate backup there, not Ferguson. And finally, Arizona and the Jets. Man, the Jets are just in trouble. I got to give the Jets ownership and management some kudos here. They didn't want to pay for Ryan Fitzpatrick, and they were right. I thought it was a lucky year last year. He was way more lucky than good. And right now, 16 for 31, 174 yards, no touchdowns, interception. It's awful. It's not good enough. I mean, then they brought Geno Smith in. He looked okay for like a minute until he threw an interception. You're Todd Bowles on the sideline. You're going, oh, man, we stink. But Sharon Peake and Robbie Anderson are getting some play. They both got, Sharon Peake got 10 targets. Anderson got 6. If, God forbid, anything to happen to Marshall or Enunwa, these guys are legit. So I don't like them that much, but I think they're starting to enter the equation. Slowly but surely. For Arizona, Andre Ellington is almost a must-own. I really believe it. He's a must-own. Because right now, Chris Johnson's on the IR. If anything happens to David Johnson, you got to think that Andre Ellington's the guy. All right, so, and then with receiving, there are a lot of guys sharing targets there. Brown and Fitz and Jerron Brown and Floyd and Nelson. A lot of guys were sharing targets there, which it always struggles with that. And then Carson Palmer had a hamstring injury, so I don't even know how I feel about Arizona. They're playing Seattle. I'm treading very, very, very lightly with Arizona this week. I just am. Okay, but right now it's time to put away the insurance cards, put away the copay. The office is closed, my friends. Look, Scout Fantasy is the place to be. I want you to go to scoutfantasy.com if you haven't. I want you to enter promo code ROTO. You pay for 1 month, you get 2 more for free. It's still not too late. We've got great DFS info. We've got great seasonal info. And we ramp up as the week gets closer and we get more and more locked in. And I just really love what we're doing on our weekend shows on Friday night on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio from 10 to 12. And Saturday mornings from 7 to 10. We're all in on our scout scores for DFS information. We're all in on, we had a DFS roundtable on the show. A lot of people are doing well, and also the member forums, right? Steve Renner, and Dennis Roy, and Rob Garrick, and Cappy, and Kick, and Jeff Hamilton, and I don't know if I left anybody out, and I apologize if I did. These guys are, Heat Override. It's my boy Heat Override. They're all putting stuff in, and helping you guys create cash game lineups, which is so important. I know Cappy and Kick are doing that for NHL and NBA. It's great time to be a part of the Scout Army, and I think it's so important. So I encourage you, please, guys, check out what we're doing. It's the best $12 you're going to spend. It really is. I could say that. I don't just say things. You know me well enough. I call it like I see it, and this is the best $12 you could ever spend. All right, guys, we're back tomorrow with Waiver Wire Wednesday. So be well, take care.
Thanks for listening to the Scout Fantasy Show. There's never been a better time to join the Scout Army. Visit scoutfantasy.com. Use the promo ROTO for 2 months free. And don't forget, fantasy players, please thumbs up the podcast on the iHeart app. See you next time. Go Scouts!